Hi everyone, welcome to this yet another AWS services video. In this video, we'll be learning about the RDS, which is Relational Database Services provided by AWS. AWS provides different relational database services from different providers like Oracle, MySQL, PostgreSQL, MariaDB, MS SQL, and it has its own RDS called Aurora. So in this session, we'll be learning about the different types of RDS and how they are created and what are their features, as well as we'll be learning about creating a MySQL RDS in this session. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so here we are, AWS Relational Database Service RDS. Okay, so Amazon RDS is a fully managed relational database service for MySQL, PostgreSQL, MariaDB, Oracle, SQL Server, which is the MS SQL Server provided by Microsoft, as well as they have their own database called Aurora. Now, fully managed means you create the database and after that you don't have to do anything. You don't have access to the host that is hosting your database. You can only connect to the database and you don't have to do anything. Okay, it will be running by itself, so it will be highly available. Okay, so this is what a fully managed database means. You don't have to worry, you don't have to do any administration on this RDS databases. Once you create it, you can have an EC2 instance and install these databases, but in that at that time you need to do all your administration tasks like backup, restore, whatever you need to do. Okay, but over performance tuning and all those, but in case of RDS, all those are managed by the AWS itself. Now the features of RDS. Okay, why should we go for RDS and not our own databases installed in our EC2 instances or on our server? Because RDS is highly available. That means you can create an infrastructure for the RDS in which it will always be available. The chances of failure will be almost zero. Okay, automatic failover means you have two databases and you are writing to one of the databases, and whenever that database is unavailable for some reason, the another database called the standby database or the slave database will automatically come as a main database and your application is always available. The other is backup and point in time restore. With the RDS, you can perform your backup and do a point in time restore. Disaster recovery. This means if your instance is in a particular availability zone, and if that availability zone fails, it can still be available in another availability zone or even another subnet. Okay, now security. RDS is highly secure because it is in AWS, and AWS itself is a highly secure environment. Access management. The RDS instances are very much secure, as well as we provide access to the RDS. Unless you have the access, you won't be able to do anything on the database. So you can manage your access to the RDS. Encryption. This is, you can encrypt your RDS by using your own keys. Okay, or you can use AWS encryption keys to encrypt the RDS. Performance optimization. This is by default all the databases RDS available in the AWS which you create are performance optimized. If there is any requirement for performance, that is automatically done internally by RDS. Okay, so this is what is RDS high availability with multi-AG. You have a standby database and you have a primary database, but this is in availability zone 2 and this is in availability zone 1. Okay, so this is for failover also. Okay, so you have a multi-AG RDS. Okay, in this what happens is all the writes, okay, requests that's coming to the RDS will be going to the primary instance, and your second standby instance, which is also called the slave, is in a different AG, okay, and this can only be read, but you do not write to it, okay. So what happens when you make changes to your primary database, that is replicated to the standby database. Now, in case that is your primary database failure, okay, automatically the standby will take over as primary, and your primary you can bring up another from the backup and make it as a secondary, okay. Amazon RDS deploys two database instances in different ages with second instance in standby mode, okay. So when there is a new write, it is sent to the Amazon EVS volume attached to the primary only, okay, and from the primary the write is then returned to the standby DB instance EBS. Okay, so data is successfully returned to both EBS volumes. Response sent to the writes were successful. Okay, so this is how multi-AG works. So what we'll be doing today is we'll be creating an RDS. Normally the infrastructure we do is we create a private subnet and we put our RDS in the private subnet because it should not be accessible to the outside world, and it should be accessible to the applications in our public subnet or within our private subnet. So what we'll be doing is we'll be creating a Mysql RDS in the private subnet, and we'll create an EC2 instance in the public subnet and connect to the RDS, or we'll connect it, yeah, we'll connect it to the RDS. Okay, so this is what we are going to do today. Now the key takeaways: we'll know what is a MySQL client and how to connect to the RDS from an EC2 instance. We'll know what is a subnet group. We'll be learning about what is multi-AG DB and what is master slave. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so here we are in the Amazon RDS console, or you can just type RDS and then go to the RDS console. Okay, so yeah, now we are in the RDS console. From the RDS console, let me tell you, before we create the database, we need subnet groups. What subnet groups are is, it's a group of subnets into which our RDS instances will be created. Okay, for example, when you have a primary and slave or primary and standby infrastructure, at that time you cannot create your standby and primary in the same subnet. You need at least two subnets. So that's why we need to create a subnet group. So let's create the subnet group. Let's give it SNG 1000, 10,000. Then let's give a description: subnet group 1. Okay, so VPC, we'll choose our own VPC, 10,000 VPC, and then we'll choose the subnets. Okay, so where do we want? We want in 1A and 1B. Okay, these are the availability zones and the subnets. Okay, where I said we'll put it into private subnets. Okay, so the private subnets are 40 and 20. Okay, these are the private subnets. Okay, so let's say create. Now our subnet group is created. Then we go to RDS and then we say DB instances. Then we create our DB instance. Okay, so let's say create. I'll show you where we need that particular subnet group. So we'll say standard. Okay, so you will know what is standard from here and what is easy create from here. Easy create don't give you any kind of things that you can it gives you from some configuration options can be changed after the database is created. In standard, you set all of the configuration options, including ones for availability, security backups, and maintenance. Okay, now in this I'm going to select MySQL. Okay, if you want to know what are the known issues, you can check from here, and I will just say free tier. Okay, for now, and I'll give the database name as SDB0 1000 10,000. Okay, now credentials, I'll put as admin as the user, the main user. which will be the which will have the administrative privilege, and I'll give the password. Okay, I'll have to confirm the password and the type of database instance. Okay, and then we have subnet group. Yes, so this is the div instance identifier. Where is the subnet group? Storage type, and this is the maximum threshold. Yes, so in which we want in 10,000. Okay, see subnet group, by default there is only one, so it has come down here. And then whether we want it to have public access or not, we'll say no, because we don't want the RDS to be accessible from the outside world. Okay, so RDS will not assign an IP address and address to the database. Only Amazon EC2 instances and devices inside the VPC can connect to your database. Okay, so we'll use our existing VPC, the security groups. Okay, and then okay, and then I will go to preferences. I'll put it under B, AP South 1B, and then yeah, that's all. So we just say create. Now our database will be created. And how do we access this database is, okay, by using the client. Okay, to from we cannot connect it publicly, so we'll have to connect through EC2 instances in the same availability zone or in the same VPC. So over here, once the database is up and running, it will have a endpoint. Okay, so the endpoint is not yet available. Okay, so now our database is backing up, so it's already available for use. So if I go to the database, I'll see the endpoint here. Okay, so this is through which we'll be accessing our database. Okay, and the port number will be 3306. For this purpose, let me go and create an EC2 instance. So I will say launch instance. I'll create an EC2 instance which has Mysql client installed. Okay, the key pair that I'll be using will be this one. Sorry, this one, and I'll go to the network and use our VPC 10,000, and then the subnet that we'll be using is 1B public. Okay, and then the security group will use an existing security group, and then in the advanced configuration I will use user data. In advanced details, I'll go and use user data. Okay, this user data is similar to earlier one, but this time what it will do, it will install MySQL, through which we'll be connecting to the our database. Okay, so I'll just say create, launch. So while our EC2 instance is being launched, okay, it's in pending state. So I already got the IP address. I can copy the IP address, and then I will go to the cloud shell, and in the cloud shell I'll connect to my EC2 instance. Okay, so this is the EC2 instance. This is our IP address. So inside the EC2 instance, okay, let's see whether it's running or not. Yeah, it's running now. So there, once we connect, okay, yes, So we'll see that MySQL has been installed. Sorry. So oh yeah, it's installed now. It was installing. So now I have my MySQL installed, which MySQL. Okay, it's installed by the user data. So now I'll just say MySQL minus u because admin. Okay, minus p. I'll enter the password and minus h. Minus h is our host, which is our RDS endpoint. Okay, so we'll go and take the RDS endpoint. So let's go to the RDS and take the endpoint. Okay, so now we should be able to connect to the database. So it's asking for the password. Okay, so now I'm in the database instance. Okay, so databases, sorry. Okay, these are the databases. Now I can create a database test. Okay, now I can go to test database. Okay, okay, so it's integer. So now if I describe department, okay, so this is the table that I created. Now I can say insert into department values 1 comma, let's say sales. Okay, then I will need to say commit in order to make the changes permanent. Now if I exit from here and log in again, I'll have to say use test, and then I can say show tables. Okay, so there is department table from department. Okay, so this is how you can create an RDS instance so easily and start using it immediately. While if you are doing it in your own environment, in your on-premise, you have to do a lot of steps in order to get it up and running. You have to do your administration, like what do you want the database to be put, the database files to be put, and how your database structure should look like, where to take the backup, how to take the backup, okay, where to take the backup, all these things. And when there is a performance issue, how to troubleshoot, okay, all these things you need to take care. But with RDS, you don't have to take care of about all those. You just create the database and start using it. Everything will be ready for you, and everything will be fully managed by AWS. So that's all for today. So in the next, we'll try to see how we can do multi-AZ implementation of MySQL database. Okay, so till then, bye.